So what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. I'm Zion, and today I'll be coming with a very honest and real situation with my properties right now, which is nothing bad, but it will expose the realities of investing in real estate. Obviously, I've spoken great things about investing in real estate, and I think that more people should look into investing in real estate and investing in many things other than real estate. But no matter what we're investing in, when we're looking to acquire assets, it's not always the case that the process will be pretty or perfect, but we have to sustain the mindset, maintain the mindset that no matter what the circumstance is, we're going to keep going. We're not going to stop just because things get a little difficult. They become a little too uncomfortable for us. We're going to continue to push forward and embrace a winner's mindset. So it's nothing to freak out about. It's nothing to panic about. But yes, like I said, this will be a very honest video where we'll discuss the realities of real estate. So yes, let's get right into it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Yeah, let's dive right into the video. So yes, as you read the title, it says, my properties are losing money. Here's why. So here's the truth. Basically, I have 2 vacant units, one in each property. One has been vacant since the end of February, and the other will soon be vacant. We've had a talk with one of the tenants, and I guess she will not be able to come up with rent this month or going forward. So she will be moving out very, very soon. So basically 2 vacant units right now. Now, this is pretty rare that you see somebody talk about the vacant units that they have or the money that they're losing in their investments, but let's just keep it real. As we're on this journey, let's keep it as real as possible. And to be honest, if you guys have any feedback or any advice for me to make this process easier for myself, I'm more than willing to consider it and hear it out. But I want to make sure you guys get the full scope of this journey. And yes, like I said, 2 vacant units. So the question becomes, how do I deal with a vacancy? And in this case, how do I deal with multiple vacancies? But before we really get into how we deal with it, let's ask the question, what are the lessons we learn from a situation like this? Are there ways that I can avoid this going forward? Is there a way for me to flip this around? So the first lesson we have to understand is that before we even get into real estate, as I've detailed a little bit in the past, is cash flow is not guaranteed. And this is something we have to understand before we get into it, and also when we're actually in the game. You can run the numbers on a property and you can look at the market, understand that rents are at a certain price point, charge that, and on paper, you'll be making X amount of money, X amount of dollars, I should say, per month. But because of life, because of different types of people and their different types of situations, things come up and you can begin to feel pressure from month to month. Think about cash flow as conditional, not always consistent. Cash flow is dependent on occupancy, tenant behavior, timing of expenses. You know, obviously, throughout a month, you have different expenses that you may potentially have to address, right? So obviously you have the actual mortgage, but you may have repairs throughout a month that have to get attended to. So with that being said, some people chase the cash flow, but they don't really prepare for whenever the cash flow pauses. And that's one of the biggest things right there, is preparing for those times when it pauses, and you have to expect it. And that's what I've had to realized with these two properties and with people leaving really unexpectedly, I had a tenant that signed a year lease in July of last year or June of last year, and obviously it's supposed to expire June of 2026. They break their lease, they leave. Now there's a vacancy on or in my unit, right? So it's unexpected. You don't really expect somebody to break their lease after signing for a whole year, but this is the reality. Then we have a month-to-month tenant in my other property who's looking to leave after not being able to pay rent this month, but she's month-to-month. So it's an easier turnover, because if she moves out, first of all, she's not breaking the year lease, so we don't really have to deal with those repercussions. But we did not expect her to be moving out at this moment. So quickly, we have to get her out of there, clean up, and put this unit back on the market. So though these things happen out of nowhere, we still have to be able to snap back and realize, okay, let's get this unit filled ASAP. And part of you being prepared for cash flow pausing leads me into the next lesson we learned from this, and that is your reserves and your saving system that I spoke on in one of my last videos. With no reserves, one vacancy can break you, let alone two. Reserves, we have to remember, are a non-negotiable. Whenever I got my first property, I had plenty of money in reserves for whatever came up. Even if it was something as big as a roof being replaced, I knew I was good. Now, in this moment in which trying to get back on the boat and things of that nature, things become a little tighter, but that doesn't mean that I don't have the reserves to deal with things accordingly. So we have to make sure that we have our reserves ready for these situations. And one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to use all of our money to get into a deal, because ultimately the reserves are what keep you in the game. The deal isn't the finish line. We want to continue to push forward, even if we have to deal with tight months, gap months, where we have to kind of figure things out to stabilize. Make sure you keep those reserves in check. I mean, this is, like I said, a non-negotiable. It is completely huge, and something I'll have to continue to remind myself, though I'm not a huge spender, or I'm never gonna, like I've said, use all my money to get into a deal. Without the reserves you have, what you end up doing is you become more desperate, right? You make bad decisions. You put cheap tenants into your properties. You lease out of desperation. There's no need for desperation whenever you have your cash on the side of you that can save you. So that's the main point of the saving system. Save your money so that at some point money can save you. Now, I just brought up cheap tenants. The third lesson we'll learn from this is your tenant quality means everything. The quality of the person you have in your unit is beyond vital. With my highest paying unit that's currently vacant in my first property, you have the mindset of, man, it's vacant, I just got to get somebody in the unit, which in a sense it is correct. You do want somebody in the unit, quote unquote, but you don't want just anybody. The wrong tenant is more expensive than an empty unit. And if you haven't checked out my story on one of the bad tenants and one of the bad experiences I've had with having my own property, it goes to show that having a terrible tenant is extremely costly. Now, thank God, if you remember in that story, I spoke on his grandparents paying for everything, paying for all the damages. So I didn't have to come out of pocket to deal with all the things that were broken. But In the instance in which somebody doesn't have a safety net as strong as that one, what would I have to do? I would have had to come out of pocket, go into my reserves, and fix all of that myself, which comes with this process. But that hurts so much, right? So that's what I'm saying. Tenant quality matters over everything. So think about it like vacancy is like visible pain. You have a cut somewhere in your body, you broke your leg, you broke your finger, whatever. This is something visible because you're gonna have a cut, you're gonna have blood, you're gonna have a cast. But a bad tenant is like hidden long-term pain that sustains, right? Something like a disease that eats you from the inside out, right? That you have to deal with for the rest of your life that they don't have a cure for. This is something where you don't really see it at first unless it's just that apparent, but you feel it. Filling a unit feels great until you pay for it later. So always remember the type of person you put into your property is extremely important. Now with the fourth lesson, we have to understand that this is a long game. It's like with anything we do, whether it be investing or working out, short-term pain, long-term gain. We can come in expecting smooth sailing, the cash flow, the quick wins, and no disruption, no type of problems, no type of repairs, no type of bad tenants or anything. But that's not realistic with the people that we deal with on a daily basis. So we have to make sure that we're playing the game and we're playing the long game. We have to make sure we are practically addressing these issues. So yes, we do have to find a good tenant as soon as possible. Screening our tenants is important. Adjusting our systems where they need to be adjusted, especially our savings system, especially that. And also, like we know, staying financially responsible and disciplined will never in life do us wrong. So when we can keep the big picture, keep the main thing, we're able to feel less stress in moments like this. And that's the only thing you can really ask for, because there's gonna be stress, there's gonna be things that we can't control. But if we can find a way to be less stressed, if we can find a way to be less worried about this month, the next tenant, or whatever circumstance we're in, that is the key to having this process go as smooth as possible, although it may not feel like it's going as smooth as possible. Who you're renting to, managing your money, the systems you build, all of this matters, and it goes back to that one short that I made where I was talking about controlling your environment. We can't control everything, but we can absolutely control our environment, control what we have the ability to control. And this is the realest part of real estate, understanding that this is not meant to be pretty, it's not meant to be perfect, but it is powerful if we stay persistent. Because we have to make sure that though the situation I'm in now may seem quite negative or questionable. I don't want to really say negative, that's a little far, but somewhat questionable. We have to remember that one bad month, one month that you go without a tenant in that unit, if you have the reserves especially, it doesn't define the investment. So sometimes I think we can doubt ourselves in what we've decided to do because of these pitfalls or because of these hurdles or obstacles that have been presented to us. But remember what you're actually building. You're building equity, you're building experience, and you're building systems. So things on the front end may not look as pretty as they will on the back end, but that's what I'm saying. It's all about playing that long game, and that's really what I've learned. That might be the most important lesson I've learned from this whole thing, is playing the long game. There's still so much to learn, so much to experience and just go through for myself as an investor and just as a human in general. So let's embrace all of it. There will be mistakes made. I've made plenty. So, like I'm saying, there's really nothing for us to really stress about anything. This situation for me is actually a good thing because now I understand where I have to get sharper and pay more attention to the details. And that's really all it comes down to. Like I said, better screening, better tenants, better results, more progress. So yes, I just wanted to tell y'all the realness of what can happen in this investing journey. But things will work themselves out. I have to be intentional. So that's a lot of things that I've learned from this situation. Nothing too deep, but definitely necessary for me to reflect on where I might have went wrong. Not exactly with the people, because the people decided to leave on their own. It's not like I've disrespected them or there's been issues that I haven't been paying attention to. It's nothing like that, but just in regards to the cash flow predicament, that's where things can become shaky because we're in this for cash flow, right? And when things go wrong, can you still manage them with the people, but also with your own finances, with your own investment, right? So that's one thing I've had to pick up on, and picking up on it as we go, and it's a learning experience, like in real time, but at least I'm learning. So yes, thank you for viewing the video. Let me know if you have any questions. Remember that, like I said, it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. The world we live in is not perfect. No investment is perfect, but we have to make sure we keep going when we're doing good things. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. I encourage you to do the same. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was detailed enough when it comes to my situation and the realities of real estate, even when things are not as peaches and cream as people may portray them to be when investing in real estate. This is what it really is. So yes, thank you. Just hit 100 subscribers. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the support, the love. Keep doing what you've been doing. Let me know your comments. Let me know how you feel about everything. Let me know it all. I want to hear it all. Yes, so until next time, when it all costs, and I'm out.